What if I told you that with dividend growth and reinvestment, your dividend income could be worth 2 times, even 5 times more over a decade? And I'm not talking about the stock price going up. Most investors miss this completely, and it costs them millions. Welcome to the powerful dividend blueprint. Keep your eyes on year 10, the turning point. If you want to understand how the wealthy build real passive income, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss our wealth building strategies. Before we dive in, quick disclaimer. This is educational content only and is not financial advice. I'm not a licensed financial advisor. Always do your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making any investment decisions. Not financial advice, educational purposes only. Always do your own research. Today, we're diving deep into why dividends don't just grow over time, they explode after the 10-year mark. And by the end of this video, you'll understand the mathematical phenomenon that turns small dividend investors into millionaires. In the first few years, it feels like nothing's happening. But somewhere between years 8 and 12, the curve turns. That's where dividend acceleration begins. Here's the inflection zone. Years 8 through 12, with year 10 highlighted. First, let's establish the foundation. A dividend is a portion of a company's profits paid directly to shareholders. If you own 100 shares of a company that pays $1 per share annually, you receive $100. 100 shares times $1 equals $100 per year. But here's what most people don't realize. Dividends have 3 hidden superpowers that only reveal themselves over long time periods. Now let's reveal the 3 hidden dividend superpowers. Superpower number 1, dividend growth. Quality companies don't just pay dividends, they raise them every single year. Let's look at a real example. Imagine you bought shares in year 1 and the dividend is $1 per share. If that company increases dividends by just 7% annually, which is below the historical average for quality dividend stocks, watch what happens. Watch the yearly numbers climb on this clean timeline, showing steady dividend increases and how compounding begins to accelerate. Notice something incredible? By year 10, your dividend payment has nearly doubled. But you're still only being paid on your original investment. This means your yield on cost, the dividend relative to what you paid, is skyrocketing. If you bought shares yielding 3%, by year 10 you could be earning 6% on your original investment. By year 20, over 11%. This is yield on cost, and it's the metric wealthy investors obsess over. Superpower number 2 is where things get truly explosive. Dividend reinvestment. This is the secret weapon that separates millionaires from everyone else. Stay with me. This is where it gets explosive. Instead of spending your dividends, you use them to buy more shares. Those new shares generate more dividends, which buy more shares, creating a self-feeding wealth machine. Let's run the numbers with a real scenario. You invest $10,000 in a dividend stock yielding 4%, with 7% annual dividend growth and 6% annual stock price appreciation. Illustrative example with simplified assumptions. Figures are for demonstration. First, without reinvestment, growth is slower and your income rises more modestly each year. Now compare that to reinvestment. With reinvestment, new shares boost dividends, which buy even more shares, an accelerating loop. That's over $6,800 more in just 10 years. But here's where it gets insane. Let's extend to 20 years. Extend the timeline out to 20 years to see the compounding difference. Without reinvestment at year 20, the totals look like this. Respectable, but limited. With reinvestment, dividends and share count far outpace the first scenario. You've more than doubled your wealth simply by reinvesting. And your annual dividend income is now over $3,300. That's 33% of your original investment coming to you every single year. This brings us to Superpower 3, and this is the holy grail, the crossover point. This is the magical moment when your annual dividends exceed your original investment. Think about this. You invested $10,000, After 10-15 years of dividend growth and reinvestment, you might be collecting $2,000, then $5,000, then eventually $10,000 or more in dividends every single year. You've been fully paid back through dividends alone, but you still own all the shares. Everything from this point forward is pure profit, and it accelerates exponentially. Here's a hypothetical scenario to illustrate the power. Imagine someone who invested $50,000 in a dividend aristocrat in 1990, religiously reinvested every dividend, and added consistent capital over the decades. With 7% dividend growth and full drip reinvestment, they could be collecting dividend income that rivals or exceeds their original investment annually, while still owning hundreds of thousands or even millions in shares. Across decades, steady dividend growth and reinvestment transforms small beginnings into substantial portfolios. Each payment buys more shares, each year adds momentum, and by the second decade, the income curve steepens dramatically, setting up the crossover point where annual dividends can exceed your original investment. So why specifically does year 10 become so powerful? Here's the simple truth. The first 10 years, you're building the foundation. After year 10, drip and dividend growth start working on a much larger number of shares, and that's when you see the explosion. It comes down to three mathematical realities. Three forces drive the surge: dividend growth, reinvestment, and compounding on a larger base. First, with 7% growth, your dividends roughly double every 10 years. Year 10 is when that first doubling completes and the second cycle begins. But now, you're doubling a much larger number. Second, by year 10, you've accumulated so many additional shares through reinvestment that each new dividend payment buys significantly more shares than it did in year 1. You're not just growing linearly, you're growing exponentially. Third, year 10 is when compound interest truly kicks into high gear. The rule of 72 tells us that with 7% growth, you double your money approximately every 10 years. But the second decade is far more powerful than the first because you're now compounding on a much larger base. Here's the brutal truth. Most investors never reach year 10. They get impatient in year 3 when they're only earning a few $100s. They sell in year 5 during a market crash. They chase the next hot stock in year 7. Patience is the edge. Stay invested to let compounding work. Most people don't hold long enough. They sell way too early, before compounding even has a chance to work its magic. This is why dividend investing is a wealth transfer from the impatient to the patient. The people who understand this don't invest for 1 year or 2 years. They invest for 10, 20, 30 years. And they become extraordinarily wealthy doing it. Let that sink in. Discipline and time transfer wealth from the impatient to the patient. So how do you actually implement this? Here's the exact strategy. Don't chase the highest yield. A 10% yield often means the dividend is about to be cut. Focus on companies with 2 to 5% yields that have a long history of raising dividends. Think Coca-Cola, Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, Microsoft, or Visa. Set up a dividend reinvestment plan, DRIP for short. This automatically uses your dividends to buy more shares without any effort or trading fees. Remove emotion from the equation. Don't put everything in one stock or sector. Build a portfolio of 15 to 25 quality dividend stocks across different industries. This protects you if one company cuts its dividend. The magic accelerates even faster when you add new money regularly. Even $500 per month can turn into millions over 20-30 years when combined with dividend reinvestment and growth. This is crucial and varies by country. In the United States, use a Roth IRA or traditional IRA to avoid taxes on dividends and capital gains. In the UK, maximize your stocks and shares ISA allowance, currently $20,000 per year, where all dividends and growth are completely tax-free. In a taxable account, you might lose 15-30% of your dividends to taxes every year. That's like running a marathon with weights on your ankles. Tax-advantaged accounts let you keep every penny to reinvest and compound. This alone can mean hundreds of thousands of dollars in extra wealth over 30 years. Always research the specific rules in your country and max out these accounts first before investing in taxable accounts. The tax savings are simply too powerful to ignore. Hold for decades, not months. Markets will crash. Your stocks will drop 30%, 40%, even 50%. But remember, you're not investing for next month. You're investing for year 10, year 20, year 30. The dividends keep coming regardless of the stock price. Of course, if a company cuts its dividend, breaks its business model, or fundamentally changes for the worse, reassess. But these should be rare exceptions, not excuses to constantly tinker with your portfolio. Let's bring this all together with the ultimate example. What if you started with $25,000 and added just $500 per month to quality dividend stocks? Here are the simple assumptions we'll use for the example. Legal note: projections are estimates, not guarantees. Follow the year-by-year results as the timeline scrolls, with year 10 clearly marked. After 30 years, you're earning over $38,000 per year in passive income, enough to live on for many people. And you still own over $1 million in stocks. You've invested $205,000 total over those 30 years, but dividend growth and compounding created an extra $884,000. But notice year 10. That's when you crossed $138,000 and started earning nearly $5,000 per year. That's the inflection point. That's when the snowball gets big enough to really start rolling. So why do dividends get powerful after 10 years? Because that's when three forces, dividend growth, compound reinvestment, and share accumulation, reach critical mass. The first decade builds the foundation. The second decade builds the house. The third decade builds the empire. The investors who understand this don't chase quick profits. They plant dividend seeds today and water them patiently, knowing that in 10 years, they'll have a forest generating passive income for life. Most people won't do this. They'll get distracted by cryptocurrency, by options trading, by the next meme stock. And that's exactly why those who do commit to this strategy will build extraordinary wealth. Two paths: distraction and speculation, or disciplined compounding toward long-term wealth. If this opened your eyes to the power of long-term dividend investing, hit that like button. And subscribe so you don't miss our next video, where we'll reveal the exact 10 stocks we'd hold for 30 years. Remember, time in the market beats timing the market. Start today. Your 10-year-older self will thank you. Final reminder: commit for decades and take action today. This dashboard view tracks timelines, charts, and rising dividend income in real time. Side-by-side totals with a bold Year 10 badge highlight the turning point. Corporate backdrop with subtle tickers keeps the financial context clear. Zooming into the calculator and key figures underscores the critical numbers. Today we're diving deep into why dividends don't just grow over time, they explode after the 10-year mark. In the first few years, it feels like nothing's happening, but somewhere between years 8 and 12, the curve turns.